I gotta play this like all throughout today, just in case. All right, all right. All right, guys. So welcome to another episode of the Women Who Love Too Much Pod. Again, I'm Haiti, your realtor extraordinaire, podcast host. You already know. And I have a very special guest here with me today, and I'm super excited again about this episode. And just to give you guys a little bit of insight, because y'all know I keep it real, we're redoing this episode because we had some technical issues last time, and it was a really good one, but it was on my end. So I'm definitely appreciative to have Johanne back. Johanne, introduce yourself to the people.
Hi, Johanne Alexander, licensed mental health counselor. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we have a professional in the building, so I'm definitely happy about that because, you know, this is a first. This is a first for the pod, so I'm super duper excited to have you here today. And yeah, we're gonna kick it off. Again, just tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about your background, just so the people know also where they can follow you and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. So like I said, licensed therapist. I've been practicing for over 10 years. I've worked in a variety of settings. I've worked in behavior hospitals. I've worked at the VA hospital with veterans. I've worked with clients struggling with addictions. I'm currently working in the school setting, and I also have a private practice, Grounded Path, LLC. So I see teens and adults. I see families, couples. I offer individual sessions. So I kind of tailor my services to the needs of the client.
That's what's up. Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So, so if y'all looking for a therapist and y'all local here in Orlando, hit her up. Because, you know, this is a therapy promoting podcast. I'm starting to say that quite often because this is what, you know, we're promoting healing and all that good stuff. So if y'all looking for a therapist, again, hit up Johanne. But yeah, let's just get it started. So today's topic, you know, we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence, which, you know, we hear it. We hear people talk about it, right? We hear it thrown around, but it's definitely something that is still far, right? Very few and far between for a lot of people. Like, what is, and that's another thing too, because a lot of people don't really know, you know, we hear emotional intelligence here and there, but what does it actually mean? So let us know a little bit of a definition of what emotional intelligence is.
Yeah, I mean, so I think people are familiar with IQ, right? Your ability to solve problems, learn, think. I think people associate it with like how smart you are. But what research has found is that those with high IQ weren't actually outperforming in the workplace, regardless of industry. As a matter of fact, individuals with average IQ, they were outperforming, more successful than those with high IQs. And so they were like, well, what's the missing variable? And they found emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence measures your ability to understand and manage emotions. It's understanding what you're feeling, what you're going through, being able to manage what you're feeling, being able to understand the feelings of others, and using all of that knowledge in your relationships.
Yo, facts. Very important, right? Very important. And that's one of the things that I've been talking about lately. And I've kind of been realizing throughout my own journey right now that I'm looking to be, you know, surrounded and be more emotionally intelligent myself, right? So it's something that I think is highly important. I'm more mindful of it than ever before. And I think a lot of people are being turned on to it, right? Being more turned on to it, more self-aware. There's more promotion of it, right, overall. So, you know, in order for us to have healthier relationships and just better interactions overall with those, you know, around us, emotional intelligence is key. So, so yeah, tell us a little bit about, you know, because I know there's like some areas, right, 4 main areas of emotional intelligence. So let's run through that. And tell people what those are.
So I'm going to talk about 4 main areas for emotional intelligence. They're broken up into 2 categories: personal competence and social competence. So within personal competence, there's self-awareness. It's your ability to understand your emotions, understand and identify your triggers, what pushes your buttons? You know, what situations or settings are you uncomfortable versus comfortable? So it's that self-awareness piece of, what am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling this way? Being able to kind of understand yourself, that's a skill. That's a skill. And so
Right.
that's 1/4 of this umbrella of emotional intelligence. Um, Second piece is self-management. Okay, now once I know what my triggers are, what makes me angry, what makes me upset, what makes me feel disrespected, whatever it is, once you have that awareness, what do you do with it? You know, are you, that's the second piece, right? That self-management piece. Are you remaining composed in situations that are upsetting? Are you yelling? Are you dysregulated, right? So it's not enough to just understand what you're feeling, but what do I do with that now that I know what my triggers are? Am I setting boundaries? Do I find myself in these same situations? And so knowing what you're feeling, understanding why it's happening, and then what you do with that and how you compose yourself and respond and react, that's half of emotional intelligence. That's that personal competence part. Now
Yeah,
you're
no,
shifting from
definitely.
yourself to others. And so the second piece is social competence. And so now it's like social awareness. Can you recognize or understand what someone else might be going through, what they're feeling? Can you read the room? You know, or are you only paying attention to how you're feeling in the situation? Or can you stop for a minute to say, how is this message received? What am I seeing? Am I socially aware of what somebody else is experiencing? And then again, using all of that knowledge and awareness to manage the relationship, whether it be a romantic relationship, parent-child relationship, a work relationship. You use that information to, make the relationship successful.
Damn, man, I got some work to do. I thought I was pretty emotionally intelligent, but it looks like I got some serious work to do now that you're breaking it down like this. And I'm sure a lot of you are coming to that realization as you're hearing these things, because I'll be honest with you, when I'm in a space where, I'm very expressive, I'm very emotionally, yeah. So for me, I have a hard time managing my emotions in the moment. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. I mean, at the end of the day, when you're just I'm a very passionate person, sorry, by nature. So whenever I'm feeling something, or I'm taking that in, it's really hard to regulate that and even put myself in a situation where I'm able to kind of take into consideration how the other person's feeling. So I'm the
Yeah.
type of person where I need to kind of walk away from the situation, take some time to process, kind of just let the emotions kind of wind down, kind of settle a little bit, so that way I'm able to kind of, be a little bit more objective in the situation and be like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let me think about this, like with my, let me reason here. And yeah, so I don't typically do that. I'm the type of person, I mean, I go full throttle. And I'm working on that. I'm not saying it's good.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest,
Yeah, but
keeping
it's
it
not
real.
just you, right? Like, it's not just you. When we're upset, we're dysregulated, right? So our body
Yeah.
is in fight, flight, freeze. Like, we're just trying to um, survive that threat, right? So, the threat of disrespect, or the threat of being misunderstood, or whatever is happening in that argument. And so that's why the self-management piece is super key. It's okay, now that I'm feeling dysregulated, now that I'm having a physiological response, I'm upset, my heart is racing, I'm hot, like, right, I feel like I'm boiling. How do I calm myself down so that I can be clear minded, so that I can have a conversation without regrets later, so that I'm not crossing a boundary and being disrespectful. All of that, again, this is skill building. This is practice, and even with practice, we make mistakes. We weren't identifying our trigger going into the conversation, so we weren't prepared for it. Whatever the case may be, this is, it's something that we're forever growing and working towards, is that recognition, but also the regulation piece.
No, definitely. I mean, there's nobody more triggering to me than my son's father. Like, this man triggers me to the T. But like you mentioned, boundaries are key. Like, I've learned to set the proper boundaries, because I mean, this is a person that I have to interact with no matter what.
Yeah.
So it's somebody that I've had to learn. I mean, because usually I'm quick to cut people off. Like, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
this person, like, we don't vibe. Like, I mean, we can't communicate effectively. You go your way, I go mine. But again, this is a situation where, that's not what's best for my son. So I have to kind of bite the bullet and do what I have to do in the situation. And because of that, it's forced me to kind of set boundaries, which I'm surprised myself how effective it is, really, because it's like in setting those boundaries, it's like the things that he says or does doesn't penetrate the same way, right? It doesn't affect me the same way. Like I'm already shielded from that to a certain degree because of the boundaries that I've set. And I noticed that just the other day, the man gaslighted me like very blatantly. I'm telling you, like, all these terms, gaslighting, emotional intelligence, right? Emotional abuse, all these things I've learned through the experiences that I've encountered. And particularly, that relationship being one of them. And honestly, like, that was one of the things that I was like, oh, okay. Like, it was crazy how immediately I'm like, this man's gaslighting me. And I just couldn't help myself but to say, I'm like, oh, well, you're a gaslighter. Example right here, right now, type of thing. But again, because of the boundaries, I was able to kind of, in the moment, usually I think I would have fed into it a little bit more and just been like, no, that's not my, argued the point. No, I know that's not my reality. This, that, and the third. And just to give a little bit of context, we were just kind of discussing my son being late to school, because obviously we have shared custody and stuff like that. So it just so happened we had gotten a letter from the school that, again, like, talking about truancy. They were like, oh, he's been late like 5 times. And I'm like, what? Like, I was unaware of this. You know what I'm saying? I think even that last week or whatever, I had taken him to school, I think maybe late once. So I was kind of surprised by that, that he had been late that many times. I just wasn't aware. So it was the conversation we needed to have. But again, it was just like he was questioning my reality. I'm like, no, sir, like, we got a letter from the school. They tracked this information and he's going late to school. And if I'm not dropping him off late, then clearly you are, because you're the only other person dropping him off at school. So, and just to give him credit in the situation, at the end of the day, because of the boundaries that I set, like, I didn't feed into it. It was a conversation, which I immediately detected and saw when he was gaslighting me. But then it's like, it was kind of funny too, because my son actually was the one to call him out on it and kind of settle the situation. And it's like, once my son actually said something, I was like, no, Daddy, every time you drop me off, the doors are closed. Okay, he's late. So right there was settled. I just immediately stayed quiet. There's nothing else to be said. Like, you know what I mean? And it was just kind of one of those moments where there's no need to, further the conversation anymore, or say anything else to that effect. And he did apologize for it, so credit to him for that. But at the end of the day, again, it's the boundaries put in place, because I think sometimes, people do these things, and I'm not speaking particularly about him, but just in general, I think sometimes people have a tendency of gaslighting us or doing things because I guess some people get kicks off seeing, people getting a rise out of others, right? Getting certain reactions out of others. And I know I went off on a little bit of a tangent, but just to give kind of an example of something recent that I went through that was kind of like, okay, you know what I mean? I had to really take a step back. And again, boundaries are key in these situations in order to be able to manage that, right? And have a little bit more emotional intelligence. So, I mean, I think... Go ahead, yeah.
And something that you said that kind of stood out to me was that self-regulation piece, because it is what we're talking about, right? Like that self-management.
Right.
So what used to be a trigger for you in the past, what would have got a reaction out of you, you were able to kind of maintain composure. And we're not in control, or we cannot control what other people do or say. We can control our reaction and our response. So I can either allow this to upset me, ruin my day, right? You can see the other side of me that I'm trying to work on, or I can maintain composure and, focus on the goal. The goal here is not who's right, who's wrong. The goal here is not, you're messing up. The goal is, let's get our son here on time. So as long as the conversation's focused on, let's get our son to school on time, the rest of it don't matter, right? Do I need to get him ready earlier?
Yeah.
Can you pick him up earlier, right? Like, let's focus on the goal. But I did hear you say, you saw growth in yourself when it came to that self-management piece, because what used to upset you, you were able to kind of let that go or maintain that composure in that moment.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I did get a little satisfaction once it was settled because I was like, I knew I was right, and you're over here trying to make me question my own reality when I know it wasn't me. So I'm
You
like,
can,
yeah, I did. I'm not gonna lie. I'm human. I was like, oh, okay,
yeah,
great. I
you
kind
can
of
count
like,
on kids. You can count on kids. To tell it
yo,
like it is.
facts. And I feel very fortunate, and I'm very lucky that my son is as expressive as he is. He's very articulate. He's very, like, for his age, he's only 6 years old, but like the kid can, like, he can identify some emotions, and he'll settle things, and he'll be like, hey, he tells me all the time, he's like, Mom, I need to speak. I want to say something. I have something to say, and I need people to hear me. And I love that because I tell him all the time, I'm like, you need to tell people how you feel. If somebody
Good.
makes you feel some type of way, you need to express that. You need to let them know that, because people can't read your mind. So at the end of the day, I try to be mindful about that, and just, also because I know, what we're dealing with on the other side. And his dad, again, he has as good as bad. We all do, right? We all have our imperfections, and our things that we need to work on. But because I know his dad is a little bit more emotionally challenged when it comes to certain things, you know what I mean, and just expressing certain things, I want to make sure that my son doesn't have those same issues, in the same way, because I
Yeah.
see how then later on in adulthood, it affects you. It affects your relationships. It affects the way that you're able to communicate. I mean, he and I had many of issues communicating, and I think, there's some things that we could have overcame, but at the end of the day, I think it's just, if you don't have the tools, you don't have the ability or the awareness, like what we're
Yes.
talking about here, to kind of step away and think about, hey, how is this other person feeling, you know what I mean, how is this affecting the other person, and really, what am I doing here, how am I, again, people want to get their point across, or achieve a particular goal, let's say, right, quote unquote, right, whatever that may be. But it's how you're trying to get that, and through manipulation and gaslighting and stuff, those things are super toxic, unhealthy, and very effective. Let's be honest, they're effective for people. I mean, think about it. Like, there's people, I see people do it all the time. And even in my industry,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of people that are super manipulative, and you know what I mean, persuasive and stuff like that. And that's how they get shit done. But like I like to say, anything extreme is kind of bad. So let's check that. Let's check that a little bit for sure. So, yeah, so social awareness, all that stuff that you were talking about, self-management, super duper important. And another thing is, why even have emotional intelligence? A lot of people are like, oh, well, I've been doing just fine being how I am. Again, some people are manipulative, and you know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, well, that's how I get my way. So what's the point? What is really achieved in increasing your emotional intelligence?
Yeah, I think as
What would
far
you say?
as success in or positive relationships, just as one aspect of it, right? So where research shows that increasing your emotional intelligence has a wide range of benefits and positive impacts in your life. It actually has a greater influence on your success than IQ. So investing your time in understanding what you're feeling, investing your time on building skills to manage your feelings in a healthy way, investing your time in being socially aware and understanding what others are going through. So, we're talking about 4 different skills. You can be stronger in one area than the other, but you should be constantly working on each of those areas, because there's always going to be growth. There's never a perfect score, maxed out. As people change, dynamics change, you have to adjust and be able to change as well. So you're constantly needing to self-assess, self-reflect, and then kind of adapt to different situations. But back to your original question, which is like the benefits, in addition to kind of improved relationships, it's critical in success at work. So again, they found that the majority of leaders and the majority of people who outperformed or were successful had higher IQs. So this not only benefits your personal relationships, it benefits your career, your work. The same study showed that Individuals with higher IQs made about 30,000 more a year than those with lower, EQs. So those were
Yeah.
higher emotional intelligence. Your ability to work with people, have those interpersonal skills, makes you more money, improves your relationship, and overall, people report just an overall satisfaction with life. Like they just feel better in the day to day when they have those higher emotional intelligence skills.
Damn, man, it equates to more money.
It can.
That's always
It
a good
can.
thing.
Yes, it
That's
can.
always a good thing. So, no, and I definitely would say that. I mean, I definitely think that I like what you were saying, like how people have different degrees, right, as far as the different areas are concerned. But
Mm-hmm.
like, I
Mm-hmm.
definitely feel like I do have the self awareness. What I'm still working on is the relationship management
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
Like that's what I
Yeah.
have not
Yeah.
have
Yeah. I mean,
not really.
takes
Yeah, no,
work.
I have.
Yeah. It's not
No, no,
the
it's definitely
dynamics of
taking
human
work.
relationships are not easy.
No, definitely, especially not in the romantic department. Like my love life is oof. It is not good right now. But then again, I'll be honest, the dating scene, yo, like man, technology is great, but damn is it messing up the what's it called? Like the dating scene and stuff like that. Yo, like technology is messing that shit up. Like I totally like it's just so trash. Like I'm like, damn, man. It's like I'm going through it right now, and it's like honestly I'm not even in a place where I'm like desperate to like find somebody or anything like that, but it's just I'm just opening myself up to it, right? I'm like, hey,
Sure.
how am I gonna meet someone if I'm not, because the only thing I'm around is realtors, and honestly I do not want to date anybody in my industry. Sorry, it's just ugh, it's just very common personality types, and it's just like I'm not here for it. I'm not here for it. I need to try something different. So with that being said, I mean, damn, it's rough. It's rough out here in these streets. So definitely presents its challenges, and then as far as that, finding people that are highly emotionally intelligent, that's also really tough. Like even now that we're in this like whole mental health just high, and people are very aware, it's being promoted, people it's the time for mental health awareness, right?
Yeah, for
However,
sure.
for emotional intelligence, nah,
Mm-hmm.
not really, not so much, not so much. We need some more education on it. Like people need to just read up a little bit more on it, and that's why I think I think this episode is so important, because I think it's just opening that up, right? Opening up that conversation and letting people know, hey, this is what emotional intelligence looks like, and this is why it's important to develop. Because I don't really think it's really high up there. I mean, it is for me, and it's become something that's honestly the top of my list. Like I don't like looks and all that stuff. Yeah, it's important to be attracted to the person, all that stuff. But emotional intelligence is so freaking key. And I think especially where I am from where I am in my life right now. Like
Mm-hmm.
that is just important. That's one of the top things on my list. So I don't know about y'all, but y'all need to get you an emotionally intelligent man that knows at least, or is self-aware enough to even get the help that's necessary to continue to develop that skill. Because without that, I don't know how people stay married. I'll be honest, I don't know how people stay married that long. I don't know how people stay in relationships that long, because that's how shit gets really really toxic. So for me, it's like I don't know, it's definitely tough. It's a tough skill to build, without a doubt. But so yeah, so just in particular, and since I continue, I'm harping on dating because I just been through some things right now, and I'm kind of
I
like a
hear you.
little
I hear you.
traumatized. I'm a little
Oh
traumatized,
goodness.
but definitely, what are some traits you would say that emotionally intelligent people will have? How can we detect an emotionally intelligent person?
Um, well, I mean, some key things I would recommend looking for is empathy, right? So, are they trying to understand what you're feeling or going through? Or are they dismissing your feelings? Oh, you're just being dramatic, you're overreacting. Are they dismissing your experience or your feelings? Because part of being emotionally intelligent isn't that you have to agree or feel what they're feeling, right? So maybe different things trigger different people in that relationship. but is the person at least willing to listen, right? So there's the empathy component. Are they trying to understand what you're feeling? Like, listen, that hasn't happened to me, or I don't feel the same way, but I want to hear about your experience. I mean, that's like major, right? So somebody who's empathetic, somebody who's an active listener, are they busy? Yeah, Are they texting? Are they disengaged? Or are they giving you that eye contact? Are they sharing in that presence with you? Are they giving you their attention? Are they really listening to understand, again, what you're going through? Are they an effective communicator? Do they also share their feelings? Do they also kind of communicate their needs? You know, all of that's important, because if they're not self-aware of what they need, that they can't express it or share it with you. So it goes back and forth between the self-awareness and then the social awareness. Do they understand what they're feeling, or do they just bottle everything up and then they're snapping at you and you're trying to figure out, like, wait, what happened? Or are they able to express what they're feeling, but also be there for you when you need to express? And then again, I think composure. I think it just goes back to, how do they handle their feelings? Are they a yeller, a thrower? I mean, are they like avoiding your calls, or are they someone who are willing to have the hard conversations? Like, this makes me uncomfortable, but we need to have it, you know? So someone who can remain composed, you know, who can remain respectful in a dialogue. I would say, if I had to give some quick, things that you should look out for as far as traits, I would say empathy, someone who's an active listener, someone who can communicate with you, and someone who remains composed.
Damn. Those are gems right there. Write those things down. No, I mean, it's so important. And you know what? It's like, for some people, it's like, oh, once you hear it, you're like, oh, duh. But I mean, like, yo, there's a lot of, and I'm telling you, because I've dated some people that I'm like, yo, they are not like that. They're not empathetic. They don't care. They're totally disengaged. It's all about them. Really not, not even taking into consideration, not even able to express how they're feeling. It's just one day out of nowhere, they just blow up about something totally unrelated, but it's because they've been holding all this other stuff in, not expressing or telling, or, oh, why don't you do this? Or, you never been there for me. Well, excuse me, when have you, like, tell me that. Like, tell me, hey, I really need your support here. I really need you to be here for me. I really need this from you. Again, I can't read your mind. I don't know what you're thinking. You don't know what I'm thinking. If we don't express those things, then how are we going to understand one another? We are not the same person. So that's something that, although, I mean, it feels kind of obvious, but yo, it really isn't. It really, really isn't. And for a lot of people, they struggle to be able to articulate their feelings.
Yeah. And I mean, I would say, because these are all skills that we're working towards, something I'd also want to look out for is someone's willingness to work towards it. Right? So even if you guys recognize, hey, I noticed that you're not, you've been upset for a few days, you haven't really communicated to me, what's going on, or in the situations, hey, I've been going through something, you haven't been available for me to kind of come to in this difficult situation that I'm going through. So are they willing to work on it? Oh, okay, I'm sorry about that. I'm working on that. Or are they, again, dismissive? It's you, it's not me, I'm busy. I'm not looking for someone, or I wouldn't be looking for someone who's like perfect in all these areas, because we're always growing. But it would be important to me to look for someone who's willing to work on it, who recognizes and acknowledges that this is an area that maybe they're not great at, or they're not strong in, and are they willing to admit that and then work towards growing and being better at it. That would be important to me.
I'm telling you, one of my questions, I don't care, like straight off the bat, I'm like, oh, how do you feel about therapy? Have you been to therapy?
Yeah.
How do you feel? Because,
I love that.
Yo, I'm honest. I'm telling you, this is a therapy promoting podcast. Because at the end of the day, the men that are like, oh, nah, I don't believe, oh, no, I don't believe in that. I don't need that, this and that. Like, I had a partner who we went to couples therapy, and the man told the therapist, I am here because she needs therapy. We're in a couples therapy session, and so I'm like, okay. I had to take a step back at that moment, because I'm like, if this is his perception of what we're doing, he literally told the therapist, oh, I'm here because she needs it, not me. She needs it. I'm like, yeah, no, this isn't gonna work. So I mean, those are just some of the things. So that's just right top of mind right there. And empathy is a huge one. Like, you know what I mean? That's another thing too. I'm paying attention to the relationships they have with their mothers, particularly with their mothers.
Yeah.
And
that's
also Yeah, right. And then also, how are they treating other people around them? How do I see them interact with, their friends, other people, right? Whatever. Once they start, yeah, I mean, I wasn't, I'll be honest, I didn't really pay attention to that stuff very, very much. I kind of just was like, oh, this person's nice to me. That's all that I care about. But again, there's a lot of love bombers out there, guys. Yo, these are tactics and techniques that some people use to draw you in, and it works. I'll be honest, I've fallen for it quite quite a few times, but again, it doesn't last. It doesn't last, and it's not indicative of the real person that they are. So it's like you have to have awareness as far as that's concerned. So yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up. And those are the, like I said, yo, jot it down, and I will put these things in the notes so people can just like, yo,
Yeah.
just again take notes, keep these things top of mind when and not just seeking out a partner, but again, just people in general, people that you're letting into
Yeah.
your life, people,
Yeah,
friends,
for
and
sure.
stuff like that. Because I
For
know
sure.
that I've also had to let go of a lot of friends, which is, I don't know, like I'm not the person, which is interesting because you and I know each other from like way back. We went to middle school together, so we know each other from a long time ago. And although you and I haven't, I would say, really, really kept, very much contact throughout the years. Like, I mean, given, and it's not just because you're a therapist. I'll just be 100%. But you could tell, and I think you've always been like, I don't know. That's just what I remember about you. You were always very, very kind, very like, just not. I don't know. Like, it's not somebody that gave me that kind of energy, right? That I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just some
Yeah.
people that are just a little like, oh, like I don't know, like what's up with this person, or you just feel walking on eggshells a little bit, or not quite sure about them to a certain extent, and you've always given good vibes. So the fact that you're a therapist now is just, it makes sense. It makes sense. It totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. And but no, I mean, even like what I was getting at really is just saying that I'm not really the type of person to really sustain those friendships like from like middle school. I mean, I think Jasmine might be the only person that I talk to, and that's not even, and that's kind of sporadically. Like it's not, other than that, like I don't know. I don't know what anybody from high school is up to, or, and I don't know, I just haven't maintained those type of friendships, and I'm not the type of person to really do that because I think I've changed a lot. Like I've it's just like, the way that I've evolved, and I think the person that I was in middle school and high school, oh my God, come on. Like I was so standoffish. I was like, super duper like attitude and like, whatever. I don't know. It was just, I was too cool in my mind. So, I mean, it is what it is, right? But that person that I was then is obviously, I mean, I've matured so much since then, and my experiences have shaped me, my experiences with people and stuff like that. Like I typically am very trusting and things of that sort. So in having those experiences, I've kind of grown and realized that the people that I called friends and the people that I thought were friends weren't really healthy people, weren't really, kind of toxic, aren't people that I would want to, have in my life now. So, people kind of fall off. And even recently, in recent years, I've had that. I had like some new friendships pop up, and then it's like they quickly fizzled out because of what we're talking about now, just lack of effective communication. We weren't able to really communicate. I'm the type of person, I think I'm a little bit, well, no, not a little bit, I am very direct. And with me, it's like straight no chaser. And I've gotten comfortable with that because that is, that's how I like to just get my point across. I like to let people know, what you see is what you get right off the bat. But a lot of people don't like that. Some people are turned off by that. Oh, you're not going to appease me. You're not, oh, well, you can't say that around me, or you can't be that way around me. Well, no, well, this is who I am. And if it doesn't particularly jive with you, then okay, you know what I mean? And that's okay. I think that's part of also, coming into your own and being okay. I think that just comes with the age that we're in now, right? The stage that we're in now. As women too, I think, we're brought up to be very, very, what's it called? Like, just conforming and being a little bit complacent and just like, oh, just appeasing others, right? As women, because we have to get in and fit in, right? In certain ways. But, I'm definitely not about that, and that's not my personality whatsoever. So anyways, I just had to put my 2 cents in and just say a little something about that. But
No, I think
definitely
that
important to know that.
you're talking about emotional intelligence, not just in relationships, like romantic relationships, but also in friendships,
Yeah.
but really any relationship. I mean, if you're in a position where you're recruiting for a team or hiring, for a department, I mean, you would benefit from looking at candidates or looking to build a team with people who are emotionally intelligent, people who have good composure, people who are self-aware, people who communicate, people who can work well with others, who can adapt in different situations. So, I mean, really, emotional intelligence and who you surround yourself around applies in all of those different areas, not just, partnership, friendships, work relationships. I mean, you should always be looking to surround yourself with people who are working towards these skills.
Oh, I love that. And I'm so glad that you brought that up because I think, again, I mean, and I guess that's just what I'm going through right now. I'm kind of
Yeah,
stuck on
yeah.
the romantic relationships, right? And friendships, but you're so right. Like just in work environments and in those dynamics, how that kind of helps, right? You want to think about it. I'm in sales. I mean, people want to work with people they like. What's going to make them like you is the fact that you're aware of their needs, that you can listen to them, that you can, you know what I'm saying? It's not just, hey, I'm pretty and I've sold 100 homes. Like, no, like it's more so that it's, hey, can you speak to my needs? Can you? And I mean, I encounter that all the time. I work a lot with
Yes.
sellers, and that's one of the things that I have to keep in mind is like, hey, it's not about me, it's about them. What is it that they need? What's their goal? You know what I mean? Because that's going to differentiate me from a lot of other agents. So, I mean, it definitely, I agree. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. That's very key as well. So, and I also wanted to ask you, Johanne, what are some ways too that you can kind of improve your emotional intelligence for those that are looking to do so? Looking to do so and stuff. Like, what are some of the things that you would encourage, or you think you would advise people to do?
Yeah, I mean, I would first work on identifying which area or which skill you want to put focus toward. So, because there'd be different strategies based on which of the four skills. Are you working on self-awareness? Are you working on self-management? Are you working on social awareness? Or are you working on relationship management? And based on which area, so I wouldn't recommend that you're trying to do it all at once, right? I would give
Sure.
your attention and your focus to one area at a time, monitor, get feedback, and then you can work to grow on the other areas. But as far as like self-awareness, if you're wanting to be able to learn more about yourself, your triggers, it's, getting to know what you're feeling, like stopping to take temperature checks, like how am I feeling in this meeting? How am I feeling after this meeting? How am I feeling in this conversation? How did I feel after we had that conversation? But it's stopping to put attention towards what you were feeling. What part of that conversation left me feeling misunderstood? Or what part of that conversation had me feeling, it's really putting attention to what occurred so that you can start to recognize, oh, it was when he called me this. Something about name calling. It's something about when they call me crazy that just makes me shut down, right? But it's starting to understand what your triggers are, what your buttons are. And the best way to do that is to kind of recognize what you're feeling. Once you're able to recognize what you're feeling, another strategy I would recommend is to not categorize your feelings as good or bad. Sometimes when we categorize our feelings as bad, like anxiety, fear, shame, embarrassment, doesn't feel good, so we either dismiss it or cover it up. But it's okay to lean into your discomfort. All feelings are trying to communicate something about you. They're teaching you something about you. So instead of, I know I'm not even gonna think about that right now. I don't even want to talk about that right now. Like we're just trying to, avoid the pain or the discomfort. But part of being self-aware is to lean into that. Man, that really sucked. Let me figure out why that sucked, right? And it's just kind of exploring it further as opposed to like just dismissing it. Those would be some really quick strategies to kind of work on that self-awareness piece. Self-management, what am I doing to remain composed? Again, I love that word because it's just, there's something about composure in difficult situations that can really change the direction that a conversation goes. Am I breathing in this moment? breathing for me is a big one because I mean it's like research based. It's not like cliche. Your brain requires a certain amount of oxygen to be able to regulate, think clearly, remain, executive in a situation. So taking those deep breaths gives your body what it needs to think logically and clearly. If not, you're responding from an emotional place and not a logical place, not a place with reason.
Man.
And there's a difference. There's a difference if I'm really thinking this through in this situation. And you can only do that if you're composed. Take your breaths. You don't have to always respond. You don't have to always text back, email back, call back. Sometimes, again, another skill for self-management, just sleep on it. You know what? I'm not even gonna call you back for 24 hours because right now I recognize that I'm feeling upset or triggered. I'm going to work on my composure, and that may be 24 hours. I'll get back to you tomorrow. So, that's another strategy. Just kind of just wait, until you are able to think it through a little bit, and then you can decide how you want to respond. Making sure that you're taking control of your self-talk, because again, sometimes our perception of a situation can really dictate our response. So if you left a situation thinking, oh, they're out to get me, or they're just trying to disrespect me, or they're just like, if you've convinced yourself that was the goal, that'll change your response. But if you can kind of stop and take control of your self-talk, they don't have the skills to communicate. I know that this is an area that they struggle in. I know that this is an area that they need to work on. That's different than they're doing it on purpose because they just want to make me mad. So your perception of a situation can dictate your response and how you view it, how you feel about it. Those would be some self-management strategies. So the ones I've listed already are really about that personal competence. If you're working on understanding others, so social awareness, practice the art of listening. Okay, it goes back to having the traits that we talked about that you're looking in others. Be empathetic, right? Even if you don't agree with what somebody's saying. Are you hearing them? I hear you say, when I talk to you this way, it makes you feel defeated or whatever, right? But are you hearing what they're saying? Are you really listening? Watch your body language, right? You're saying that you care, but you got your hands crossed, you're focused on your phone. Being socially aware is hearing what somebody has to say, really watching your body language and what it's communicating, taking the time to get to know them, greet them by name, look around, what's the vibe in the room right now? Should I continue this conversation, or has this person shut down? If they're not making eye contact, if they're slouched, they're checked out. You don't have to keep going. Maybe it's time to just say, let's take a 10-minute break. I can tell that this conversation is difficult. That's part of being socially aware, is being able to read the room. And then lastly, that relationship management piece, it's finding the balance between being your authentic self, which I kind of heard you describe, this is just kind of how you are, and also balancing that with how can I be authentic to me, but also meet the needs of someone else. Because that, finding that balance, you don't want to lose yourself in trying to please someone, and you don't want to not be willing to hear feedback because you're just trying to focus on your needs. It's really finding that good balance, right? I'm not compromising myself. I'm not, losing who I am and my parts of my identity, but I'm also adapting to somebody else's needs as well. So being able to take feedback, work on yourself, not get defensive, acknowledging the other person's feelings, building trust, all of that would help that relationship management piece.
Wow.
I feel like I
so
said
many
a lot.
good things. No, but I mean, honestly, I was just, oh man, so much of that resonated with me, and a lot of it was very, very helpful. And I think, the audience is definitely going to find it very, very helpful to hear those things, because it puts things very much in perspective as far as to just, how to engage, right? And how to, because I mean, even that last piece you said about still remaining authentically yourself within all of that, that's a very important thing. And that's taken me a long time to figure out, because I first needed to figure out who I really was before I could do that. I mean, I was a people pleaser, a huge people pleaser. And my thought and my perspective was always, and the way I was brought up was really just do whatever makes the person happy. So that way, as long as you keep the person happy, then, you know what I'm saying, things are good because, the person is getting what they want, but then what about me?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
did do a lot of that, just in all types of relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, even work dynamics. Like I was always like, okay, like, what does this person want me to do? What does this person want me to say? How does this person want me to say it? But then I ended up in a place where I was just like, oh shit, like I'm not happy. Like why am I so grumpy? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling so lost? Why am I feeling so just like, just not feeling the situation, not feeling myself. And it's that because I'm not doing things, that serve me. I'm only doing what serves the other people. And yeah, they're good, but I'm not. And then I'm left empty constantly. So,
For sure.
yeah, no, that's not good either. And again, I operate from the perspective and just the mindset of anything in extreme is bad. But at the end of the day, like I'm very, again, finding out, and I'm still in that journey, you know what I mean, still figuring out exactly, what I want and who I am. So I'm not even gonna like flex or, and be like, oh yeah, I know exactly who I am and I'm this great person and I need all these things. No, but at the end of the day, I'm still figuring that out and I'm still on that journey. But at the same time, realizing that, yeah, compromising, sometimes I'm gonna be like, no, that's not gonna work for me. And that's cool. That's good for you. I'm glad it works for you. And if that's what you want to do, yeah, go do that over there. But for me, no, that's not going to work. And this is why. And being, very clear and concise about why that's not for me. And letting people know exactly where I stand. I mean, I've had to do that with family members. And that was tough within my family dynamic because everybody was quick to just critique and criticize and, oh, you're not a good person, you're not this, oh, you don't care. Why does, you know what I mean, why does things, why does why do my actions need to look a certain way to you for it to mean so and so? You know what I mean? Like, no, I don't have to prove myself to you. I don't have to, like, it just a lot of things, right, that I ended up having to learn, those hard lessons, right, in dealing with people because I'm like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep serving others and being whatever the other person wants me to be, because at the end of the day, I'm not serving myself. I'm not, and then I'm left wondering why I'm not getting what I want, why I'm left feeling so empty, why I'm, just, lacking so much joy and purpose in my life. Well, because I'm not being intentional. I'm not being intentional. I'm not being authentically myself. How am I going to draw in the people that are right for me when I'm not even being who I really am? So,
Exactly.
yeah, no, that's super duper important. And I think if, the audience here takes nothing else from this conversation, I mean, just walk away from, with the fact that, you have to be okay with you and do whatever it takes to kind of get to a place where you're like, hey, yeah, are these things are things that I want to change, right? I want to improve on these things. All the areas that we talked about, as far as, the main areas about emotional intelligence. That's why I think it's such an important skill to build, right, in your life. But at the end of the day, you got to be intentional. You got to be okay with you first. You got to be, yeah. So again, I mean, I digress, but we just have to definitely make sure that that's clear. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we did talk about how it impacts your relationships, all especially romantic and friendships and work dynamics and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know. Is there anything else you want to add with regards to emotional intelligence that you feel is key and that the audience might want to hear about, or is there anything? I don't know, man. You said a lot, but it was good.
I think that back to kind of what you're looking for when you're establishing a relationship with someone. It's a lot of the things that you are observing, right? So pay attention to how this person, especially in the earlier kind of stages, how do they treat others, right? Like, how do they handle stress? How do they handle, I'm trying to think of like, road rage, right? Like, are they composed or are they, cursing somebody out the window? How do they respond to a waiter or waitress if they get their order wrong? I mean, there's just little opportunities.
Oh, and can I give you a quick example, Joanne? Can I give you a quick example of something that's recently, like, on that went viral. And I'll just tell you real quick because I don't know if you've heard about it, but it was a situation where a girl was going on a date. These, two people were going on a date, right? So the guy explains, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know. I didn't see the clip necessarily, but I heard a lot of talk about it. Basically, the gist of the situation is they're going on this date. The guy waited an hour. He made reservations to a restaurant. He waited an hour for this girl because she was not ready when he went to pick her up. So then the reservation was completely gone, right? By the time she was ready. So by the time she's ready to go, he's like, okay, well, yeah, our original plans are done. But he waited patiently for her, and at the end of the day, he just decided to take her to the Cheesecake Factory. Because again, it's a first date, he didn't really know. So he takes her to the Cheesecake Factory, and then the whole thing went viral because then she started recording him, and when they pull up to the Cheesecake Factory, she's like, oh, I'm not getting out of the car. She's like, I don't know what made you think that all of this deserves, or you know what I mean, should have been brought to the Cheesecake Factory. So that was the whole issue. So then the whole moment goes viral because he's like, oh, the whole reason why, he's like, I did have, reservations at a very nice place, but unfortunately, you know what I mean, you were late. You weren't ready on time. So we lost the reservation. And he's like, I just thought to bring you to the Cheesecake Factory because, Cheesecake Factory has pretty good food. It has a lot of options. I really didn't know what you were into. So, whatever. I just said, hey, let's just go to the Cheesecake Factory. And homegirl was like, no, I'm not Cheese Factory type chick. Like, this is not. So yeah, and the reason I bring that up is because again, like, these are the types of things that people are dealing with dating. And that was crazy. When I heard that, I was like, I mean, it's kind of comical, but
I did not hear, or I did not see that video.
Yeah.
I did see recently, and I'm guessing that it's in a connection with that, but I did see recently like a list go viral of places you can't go on a first date or something like that. I'm not sure if that was connected to what you were
related.
But,
it was related. There's a lot of responses to it.
But, I think that that's a great opportunity, even on that first date, to observe and decide if this is like compatible with you. Different people have different red flags and different, different levels of tolerance, so it's, hard for me to say, what works for that man or that person and that woman. But I think taking those observations early on are key, and not just kind of ignoring them, and then you're 6 months, 8 months down the line and you are recognizing something that you probably had signs from, those early stages of dating. Like there's a lot that's telling in how people interact and how people, are they flexible, right? Like, could she have just went on the date? It sounds like, based on what you've told me, he was working on his flexibility and being patient for her getting ready. Again, I didn't watch the video.
I would have left her ass.
Sure,
I would have been like, an hour late? Like, what is going on here? What are you doing?
I didn't watch the video, so I can't speak to that specifically, but I do think that it brings up the point, or reinforces the point of pay attention. And then address it. Maybe that's a
beware,
conversation.
Folks, beware.
It's a conversation you're having early on. You can forget that, avoid it, and keep going on the second and third date, or you could say, hey, this happened on the first date. Let's talk about it. Those, again, hard conversations. Are you willing to have them? And because that'll help you determine, if this is something you want to continue.
Factory. I like the Cheesecake Factory. What's wrong with the Cheesecake Factory?
I haven't
been in a while either,
but I've never had an issue with it. I mean, they got some good food.
What's wrong with the Cheesecake Factory? Like, that's good food. I mean, if you take me to some, if you take me to some place that has crappy food, then that's an issue. But I mean, Cheesecake Factory, I mean, that's not that bad. Anyways, but okay, so we'll call it here. Again, thank you so much, Joanne, for joining us. Let people know where to follow you, where to look for you, where to find you.
Yeah.
Do you do virtual sessions? Sessions?
Yes. So
okay, guys.
I am licensed in the state of Florida. So if you live in Florida and anywhere in the state of Florida, I can offer virtual sessions, of course, couples, family, individual, teens, and adults. If you're in the Central Florida area, I do offer in-person therapy as well. Both are effective, so just depends on your day-to-day schedule. And you can find me on Instagram, groundedpath_counseling. I'm also on Facebook, Joanne Alexander. The two accounts are linked, so if you find me in one, you can find me in the other. But yeah, I'm your local Orlando therapist, and it was a pleasure being on your podcast today, Haley. Thank you for inviting me.
Yay, yay, yay. Awesome, awesome. And I'll include all your info in the notes too so people are, can find you easily and all that good stuff.
Sure.
And yeah, thank you again for joining me and being patient with my technical issues
No,
because
it's great. Yeah,
it
of
was a
course.
little annoying, but you were a good sport. So I definitely appreciate that. And we'll definitely have you on again. I hope you'll come on again and we'll have some
Of
other
course.
conversations for sure. So
Sounds good.
love it. All right, guys. Thank you again for joining us and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
See you guys.